Okay. Hello and welcome back. This is Don't Watch at Night, a spooky little podcast dedicated to Latin American and Spanish language horror. I'm your host, Valerie.
And I'm Veronica.
Welcome back, everybody. Time for book club episode. Ron, do you have anything you want to talk about up top, or you want me to just dive in?
No, just went on a little 3-day little cruise with my one of my dance fitness organizations that I belong to, and I came back with a little bit of a cold, so if I sound a little croaky, that's why.
Yeah. Did you have fun? Was it fun?
Yeah, it was just like really hot.
Yeah.
Because all of our exercises, because we, it's a exercise group, so we have like exercise classes, obviously, and even though they were always in the morning, but they were always out on deck, like outside, so it was like really hot and humid and
nice. Or not nice, I guess I should say. And then you come back to Texas and we're like, today was freaking hot. Yeah. Okay. Well, so just a couple of things real quick to notify people about, because I can't remember if I even said this last episode or not, but one of the things that you guys will start to see in your podcast feeds is the occasional revisited episode. And that is just us. What we're starting to do is we're starting to pull up some of our oldest episodes and we're re-airing them for your enjoyment. Mainly because we're turning 3 years old this summer, and we have established a pretty decent catalog at this point. And a lot of those older episodes are all under our old show name. So this is really just our way of bringing all of our catalog under, our name. Don't Watch at Night. So the original episodes will still be part of our archive for now. They're still there, but we are, we're republishing them so that they're fresher in your feeds, and they're going to be part of our revisited series. So we've already put out our first episode in that series. We revisited our discussion of 2022's Mal de Ojo, and you'll see those periodically coming up. So enjoy those. The other thing I wanted to remind you guys about is also like a reminder for Ronnie. I think sometimes Ronnie gets a little flabbergasted that we have people in Patreon that are very generous and have been supporting us for a while now. But just to let you guys know, it is free to join our Patreon, and if you are able to show your support through the $3 tier, that does unlock everything for you guys. The $3 tier people did just receive their copy of the Cocktails of Don't Watch at Night book club collection. We made a little book magazine, if you will. And so those copies have been mailed out and have been received at this point. And so that is part of the $3 tier perk, is that you unlock everything and you do get yourself a little annual gift from us. So thank you so much. And I guess that's it. Ron, are you ready for my very brief cocktail spiel? Very brief.
Go for it.
Okay.
I forgot to do that.
You can use this time to meditate while I talk real quick. I don't have too much going on. It's not a super long one. So, guys, the book that we're reading is called This Thing Between Us by Gus Moreno. We're going to talk more about it here in a little bit. But the central character in our story is a man named Thiago. And he goes through a bunch of things that we'll get into. But he flees. The story originates in Chicago, and he flees Chicago for a life of seclusion in a cabin in like the snowy woods of Colorado. And not that this drink necessarily has anything to do with that, but it did kind of strike me that Thiago didn't really seem as like a very fancy guy, wasn't really necessarily into a fancy lifestyle. So I wanted to find something very just bare bones, just easy, cheesy. And so we're going with the Johnnie Walker Ginger Highball. And we've had highballs on this show before. So just a reminder for you and for Ronnie, highball is a beverage where the ratio is typically going to be 2-to-1 or even 3-to-1 of your mixer to your spirit. And so they're generally considered lower ABV. And that makes them they're really perfect for this time of year as it's starting to get hotter. And there's been a real resurgence of highballs in recent years because they're kind of becoming more and more popular with the Gen Z crowd. The Gen Z crowd, it's well documented by now that the Gen Z crowd on the whole drinks less. And
wait, who's Gen Z? Isn't that your kids? Am I wrong? No,
I don't
your kids are Gen Alpha, right?
Yeah, I think so. So I think the Gen Z people are maybe the generation behind your oldest, maybe.
Okay.
Yeah. Like I think you have some Gen Z kids in like
Okay.
maybe yeah. So they don't drink much, and like the oldest of the Gen Z people would probably be the college kids at this point. Kids who are legal to drink, or maybe they're young working adults. But anyway, they don't drink much. So mocktails are an excellent alternative for them. And if they do drink, then they do. Again, this isn't me saying this. This is just what's out there, what's been documented and polled at this point. They do tend to go for lower ABV stuff, and so a highball is perfect for that. And I think that's great. I love a highball as well. So I will be upfront with listeners that I have never been much of a Johnnie Walker fan, but that's also because I'm just not super big into like Scotch whiskeys. But it was fun to go and learn a little bit about the brand, and so I'm going to share just a little bit about that here because I'd never even really bothered to, like, full disclosure, I thought Johnnie Walker was an American brand. And that is dead wrong. Johnnie Walker is a Scotch whiskey that was produced in Scotland, and it's been around since 1820. It was established in the Scottish Burr, like I can't say it, like Edinburgh. I can't say it. I'm so sorry, people. A Scottish Burr of Kilmarnock. Does that sound familiar to you, Veronica? Did they ever talk about Kilmarnock in like the, what was it? Outlander? Highlander. Which one was the one with the dude who, is that Highlander?
Yes.
There can only be one. Which one?
Yes.
Okay, the Highlander. Okay. Okay, so sorry. I did my best with that. John Walker is the founder, and he was born in 1805. And he himself was something of a teetotaler. He didn't hold his liquor too well, but that didn't stop him from selling spirits that included rum, brandy, gin, whiskey. Eventually, he just moved over to dealing primarily in whiskey. So what our drink today calls for is Johnnie Walker Black Label. The Black Label bottle is a 12-year-old blended Scotch whiskey. It's smooth and smoky in the finish, and it's a blend of over 40 different whiskeys that have matured in casks from Scotland's Four Corners. So a standard size bottle, I looked this up today, a standard size bottle retails at Total Wine for $33.99. So that's pretty friendly price. That's like a good middle of the road price point. And as I have said before, do not go bottom tier price or what is also known as bottom shelf, because that's just, in my opinion, that's just a good way to guarantee yourself a bottom shelf morning after. So don't do that to yourself.
There's got to be a morning after. Go ahead. Go on.
Okay. Okay. So the recipe is 1.5 ounces of Johnnie Walker Black Label. So just 1.5 ounces. So it's like a standard shot in a bar. One standard shot. And then you're topping that with 4.5 ounces of ginger beer. And the recipe that we have calls for the Fever Tree brand, which I've had before. It's a really good gingery, it's like ginger beer is like got a stronger punch to it than just your standard ginger ale. It's got a little bit of that spice of ginger. So you're going to combine all your ingredients into a highball glass or some tall drinking glass with ice, give it a stir, and you're good to go. Just garnish with a lime wheel or a lime wedge and enjoy. And that recipe we have linked for you guys in our show notes. It comes from a Forbes article. And then for the mocktail, we found essentially the same drink, just using non-alcohol alternatives. So this one comes from, I think they're called, I don't know how you pronounce this, guys, Sear Hill. This is a distiller of non-alcoholic spirits out of Connecticut. We've linked it for you in the show notes. If you can't find their brand, I was not able to find their brand. If you can't find it, then just go for whatever zero proof whiskey alternative you prefer. So their recipe is 2 ounces of their Mashville whiskey alternative and then 4 ounces of ginger ale. And, again, combine it in a tall glass over ice.
Drop my coaster. Oh, I thought you spilled your drink.
I dropped my coaster. But this is my highball glass. And same thing. You give it a stir and garnish with a lime. Let me get my coaster real quick. The dog is trying to flee. She's trying to run away. So that's it. That's the very easy to pull together drink. And And I've already sampled this to give it a taste test. It tastes really great. Perfect. I might even take it when we go camping this summer. So that's the drink. Cheers, everybody. Cheers. Clink. All right. Okay. So, hold on. Let me take a sip real quick. Cleanse the palate. I'll try to mute it when I take a drink so that you're not hearing ice going, everybody. Are you ready, Ron? You ready to get into it? Okay, so guys, I'll read a little blurb about it and then we'll get into it. We read This Thing Between Us by Gus Moreno. This was a book that came out, I believe, in 2021. And I say that because it was named Best Book of 2021 by the New York Public Library and NPR. So I'm guessing it came out around that time. Let's see. Let me read. I'm going to read the blurb. I'm going to try and not the blurb, but the cover back, whatever. Back cover. There we go. Found my words. I might try to condense it a little bit. So the story centers around a couple, Vera and Thiago. It was Vera's idea to buy the Itza, the world's most advanced smart speaker. Didn't interest Thiago, but Vera thought it would be a bit of fun for them amidst all the strange occurrences happening in their condo. It made things worse. The cold spots and scratching in the walls were weird enough, but peculiar packages started showing up at the house. Then there was the eerie music at odd hours. Thiago waking up to Itza projecting light shows in an empty room. It was funny and strange, right up until Vera was killed and Thiago's world became unbearable. Jumping forward a little bit, the only thing left to do in his grief was get far away from Chicago, away from everything and everyone. A secluded cabin in Colorado seemed like the perfect place to hole up with his crushing grief. But soon, Thiago realizes there is no escape, not from his guilt, not from his simmering rage, and not from the evil hunting him, feeding on his grief, determined to make its way into this world. It does go on to say, bold original horror novel about grief, loneliness, and the impressive intimacy of technology. This is a debut novel from this author, I believe. And there are lots of reviews that we linked for you guys in show notes. So Ron just finished it this week, right?
Yesterday.
Okay. and I listened to it on audiobook, which I think, and we'll get into what you think in a second here, Ron, but for me, listening to it, I think did a disservice to it because this is just one of those stories where I really wanted to be able to go back and reread text and just sort of process it a little bit slower. But very interesting book with lots of things that it evoked for me in terms of other stories and films that we've seen. So we'll talk about that. But I enjoyed it. What did you think, Ron?
I mean, I liked it. I thought it was really well written, especially if it's a debut book for this author. I also listened to the audiobook just because, was running short on time. And so had to kind of squeeze reading the book in. So, and I agree. I think this is the type of book that would have lent itself better to having the printed, word in front of me so I could, underline, not underline. I don't mark my books, but
did you ever underline your books?
Textbooks, but not like entertainment books. No.
Okay.
But I have like little, I don't know what you call them. Those
little sticky notes.
Sticky, not even a note. They're just like little tabs. Like it's just a little sticky tab that you can put on the page if there's something on there, passage that you want to revisit or you want to, be able to find easily. So I would have done that. And just side note, the author, I believe, is the one that narrates the book, which
really?
I think so.
I didn't even pay attention.
Maybe not. I don't know.
I should.
Maybe don't quote me on that. But
okay.
But the narrator, whoever it was, whether it was the author or someone else, I think did a good job. But for the purposes of time, I did have to like speed up the narration a little bit more. So again, obviously couldn't go back and say, oh, that was a nice passage. Let me go back and revisit that. But I mean, overall, I did enjoy the book. I thought it was well written. The ending, I kind of have issues with the ending and questions. But
we'll talk about it. I'm not even sure I fully, and I'm not alone because we went looking at like what some other readers that have read this book have had to say. Lots of like am I even clear that I understand the ending? Like what happened? So we'll talk about that.
I'm not clear.
Yeah, it was interesting. There was a lot of, I did, like you said, there were passages that I would have liked to have hung on to in the brain pan, and I didn't, but I did take notes as I was listening. I did think that I thought it was a really interesting reflection, and Ron, I'm going to jump on things that I know I want to highlight that I've noted, but we're not going in any order. So feel free to like double back or do whatever. Make sure you say everything you want to say too. But I thought it was a really interesting reflection when we get to the part where Veta dies, and it's a very tragic thing that happens to her. I thought it was really interesting how I thought the book did a really good job of showing how social media and the political firestorm that her death kicks off, how it enables people to sort of co-opt someone's story, or in this case her tragedy, and pin their own agenda to it, and project all kinds of things onto her and her death and what it means, and what she represents. And I think the author did a really good job, especially like during the funeral, the sections where we're talking about her funeral, and how I'm paraphrasing, but the way he would talk about her loved ones just sort of wanting to declare pieces of her and put them in a context that they understand and that they craft for their own healing, for their own grief purposes. I thought that felt accurate and on point. What did you think of Itza, the smart speaker?
I'd be like, I don't understand why they didn't get rid of it. Like, yeah, I mean, I know they tried time ago. I know they replaced it, and I think, if I understood correctly, they replaced it in the second one, did the same thing. But, when weird crap starts happening, like, get rid of it. Like, why are you?
Well, it's like you're being charged. Like, you're getting all this stuff delivered to you. You're getting charged for that. And I understand you're getting your money, you're refunded, I'm sure. But it's like, what a headache. I would have just unplugged it.
Just get rid of it. Just get rid of it. But no, definitely lots of good things to say about grief, and as reading it, a lot of that. And I don't have specific quotes or anything that I can recall off the top of my head to pull.
I know, I wish I did.
I just know that when I was listening to it, since both of us have lost a sister, a lot of Tiago's reflections or ruminations on grief and what he was feeling in the immediate days, immediate aftermath of his wife's death. Definitely, I recognized them. I was like, yes, that's how I felt, or similar, that's
accurate. Yeah. So this book is written very much from in first person, him talking to her, as sort of like him in this stream of consciousness kind of conversation with her from beyond. What did you think of that? Like, how was that for you? Did you enjoy it? Did it?
Yeah, I thought
it grew on me.
Interesting way to tell the story.
Yeah, I thought it was an interesting way to tell the story. It grew on me. Initially, I was sort of wishing there was more dialogue. But it wouldn't be, because of the nature of the story and what happens and him losing Veta. He doesn't have anybody to talk to anymore. He's lost his person. So this is just all in his brain. And so you do wish he had somebody to interact with. But I understood the purpose of that. And I appreciated that.
Right.
There was a line he said, and I don't know if you'll be able to remember it, Ron. And I wanted to hang on to it so that I could tell you, because it's like, oh, that's a good line, where he talks about, like, after she's gone, something about like you're gone or something, and the story or the movie, whatever, like I have no main character to follow in the movie anymore, or follow in the I don't it's not exactly what it said, and I wish I'd remembered, but it was really good. And I was like, that's really beautiful. I love that.
But to go back to that point of view where he's like, in his mind, having a conversation or relaying all this information to his dead wife in a way is how the story is told. But because I was listening to the audiobook at the end, when it kind of flips, like the point of view flips, I was like, wait, what happened?
Yeah. And we'll get to that, because it just sort of, it kind of seems like at that point there are people online who feel like at that point we'll say possession, for lack of another way to put it, but the entity, whatever it is, wins, and before he's able to take his own life or end things on his own terms, some people speculate that the entity takes hold of him, and he becomes, there is no I anymore. It is now we. It is now us. You are now part of whatever this is. People keep referring. It is depressing. It is depressing. And so there's a lot of people. There's a lot of what's the word I'm looking for? Not parallels, but similarities between this story and stuff, like a lot of people throw out comparisons to H.P. Lovecraft. Pet Cemetery for sure. Somebody else, Sarah Lyle from the New York Times, allusions to Rod Serling in The Exorcist, she says, and even like Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, zombie literature. So yeah, there's lots of things in this book that, yeah, you read this and you feel like, man. And as a matter of fact, Veronica, like as you're reading through and things are starting to happen in Colorado, that quote from that Judd, that old man in Pet Cemetery, jumped out at me, where it's like, sometimes dead is better. Like,
yeah,
maybe just sometimes dead is better.
Leave it alone.
Did you have, because you were listening to it like I was it hard for you? Like, I felt like there were lots of situations where I was just like, is this even real? Is this all a simulation? Like I was having trouble discerning what was reality versus what was. And then as the story progressed and I started to realize, oh, okay, this is just, you started to get a sense of just the level of cosmic horror that the story is. So I was like, well, nothing's real. So it's just like, what is real? Were you having a hard time discerning that, listening to it?
No, I mean, it seemed, pretty apparent to me when he was, I don't want to use the word dreaming necessarily, but no, I guess the short answer to that is not really.
Let's see. Like the people that I started to question whether or not, I mean, I definitely had the question even before. What's the dog's name? Brimley?
Wilford Brimley.
That's what I was hearing anyway. I wish I had seen it, but Brimley. Okay, so like when the dog, the first time the dog showed up, so not the second time, but the first time the dog showed up, I was like, is the dog even real? Like, where is the dog coming from? Like, what is this situation? And so then when the dog comes back a second time, I was like, oh, that dog's not right. That dog's not real. What did you think about the wall out in Colorado?
That I was having a hard time,
I was having a hard time visualizing that.
Or picturing how that was working.
Right.
So yeah, once he gets to Colorado and things really kind of start ramping up, that's kind of when I started having a hard time following and like, okay, what is he seeing and what is this wall and why is it here? And where were they originally? Where were they living originally?
They were originally in Chicago. They were in Chicago in a condo. And the condo is having all kinds of strange little things going on. Cold spots in the space and like scratching in the walls and things like that. And this is also coinciding with like Itza being in the house and Itza being on the fritz. And so this is worth mentioning for folks who haven't read the book, which, by the way, if you haven't read the book, we're ruining it for you. So, but they find out through their realtor that the previous owner of the condo was an old woman, right? Who gets forced out by the landlord. And the realtor is just telling them this story of how, like, when they got into the space, it sounded like she had gone through some kind of ritual in the house and sacrificed an animal. And And so they were trying to track her down to find out more. They had wanted to track her down to find out more information from her. Veta never got a chance to do that because of her tragedy. But yeah, like she is she described as a witch in the story? Like, do they go right out and say as much, or is it just sort of implied that she's a witch?
I don't even know that it's really implied that she's a witch. I don't remember the word
She may
witch
not be a witch. She just did some witchy things.
I don't recall anyone ever even using the word witch or bruja or magic or anything. Here's my issue with
she just did something.
So Diago apparently is like most youngish Latinx people in the United States, doesn't really speak a lot of Spanish. His wife did. Vera did. He did not. So when he goes to visit this woman, what was her name? Fidelia, something. Anyway, when he goes to visit her, she's speaking just in Spanish, and he only like picks up like every
other word,
fifth or sixth word. Yeah. And for whatever reason, he gets upset or angry and leaves in a huff. And I'm like, why did you not go back with someone who can speak Spanish? Like, if this person has answers, like, why would you not go back?
Right,
it's another one of the things where like people do or make stupid decisions that don't make sense. Like, if this were happening in reality, in real life, like, I don't know, Valerie, would you just let it drop that easily? Or
no? Like... But then I'm also someone who's very invested in like uncovering stuff like that. For someone who maybe doesn't want anything at all to do with it in the first place, I guess I could see fleeing the scene. But yeah, he flees the scene. She says something very interesting to him, and we'll come back to it later because somebody on, I think, Goodreads or somewhere highlighted it. But she says something to him interesting in that conversation where she talks about, she's like, your face is a mask, or you wear a mask, and something to that effect, something about his face being a mask. And I didn't make anything of it at the time, but I'll get to what the good read person said about it, because I thought it was interesting. It was an interesting thing they caught that I didn't. I guess we should also say he goes to see her. Veta's already dead, right? Or in the hospital?
I don't remember, but
what? Okay, so you want to just like fill people, like just real quick, tell people what happened to Veta, just so like for continuity purposes.
They apparently use this Itza device in part as an alarm to wake up, and so she had set the alarm to go to work, and it does not go off. So then she oversleeps. She wakes up late. Diago offers to drive her because he's like kind of like an odd job
Uber
person.
Driver.
And so one of the things he does is he's like he's a Lyft or Uber driver type person. He offers to drive her. She's like, no. You know, she gets dressed in a hurry and rushes out the door to catch the train or whatever mass transit system they have in Chicago. And then later, you know, Diago gets the call from the police that there's been an accident. She's at the hospital because apparently what happened is when she was going up the stairs, you know, rushing to catch the train, a young boy, man, teenager, whatever, was, from what I could gather, again, I'm listening at increased speed. He's coming.
Oh, I can fill you in if I'll tell you if you're wrong.
Yeah, he's just, I guess, picked somebody's pocket or stolen something, and so he's running away. He says that he saw something or somebody called his name or something, and anyway, in stopping and turning around or moving, he bumps Vera, and she apparently falls down the stairs, and she's in a coma in the hospital from which she never wakes up.
Yeah. So yeah, he got mixed up with a bad crowd who basically said, you know, part of your initiation into our gang or what have you is you know, you got to do a little minor crime, pickpocketing, what have you, whatever. And in the act of doing that, yeah, he accidentally bumps into her, and so they make the decision to take her off life support, or what? What's the deal?
His mom just says,
she had a seizure.
She just had a seizure and she dies.
Yeah, that's right.
Why was the kid, like, I know he was pickpocketing someone, but surely that's like a misdemeanor. Like, it's not like grand theft. Why is he in jail? He didn't like murder her intentionally. It was an accident.
It might not have been pickpocket. Like maybe it was something more severe than that. I can't remember, but
Didn't sound like it.
But well, he's also, like, what we learn about him is that he is undocumented. So he's which is part of what sets off this political firestorm, because this book very much takes place in, like, kind of present day, like 2019. I want to say, like, at the time that this book came out, it was very much written in a contemporary time. And so the political firestorm that this kicks off is just like, you've got people on one side of the spectrum saying that, this is someone who wasn't in the country, quote unquote, legally, and violent, and look at what happened. And so she becomes this poster child for the right. And then you've got people who are saying, we shouldn't be demonizing entire groups of people on the actions of an individual. And, it was just like a freak accident. It was just, it was a terrible freak accident. So, and like, Thiago, in his grief, is sort of very much aware that Veta would have hated this. She would have hated her death being politicized this way. And there's no way that she would have wanted somebody, like, for people to demonize immigrants because of this tragedy. So, yeah. And in that, his mom, or her mom, tells Thiago that she passed. That's a character worth mentioning. Mom's name is Diane, right? Diane. And she'll feature in the story later too. So then, like, he because of her life insurance money, she did kind of, they were married. She set him up so that, as I'm sure he did as well, so that they would be taken care of if somebody passes. And so he is able to leave Chicago, and he decides the best thing to do is just disappear in seclusion, and he chooses Colorado, which is very funny, because I think even in the book he kind of alludes to the fact that he's like, he's not outdoorsy. You would have laughed at talking to Veta, you would have laughed at seeing me chopping wood and, like, being all woodsman of the world out there. So yeah. Oh, and in that time, in between talking to the witch, Veta dying, it's Itza being on the fritz. He gets really frustrated with Itza. I forget why. And Itza just starts doing creepy crap. Itza just starts, like,
communicating him night via song lyrics,
creepy songs, and he runs her over, which I'm like, yeah, I would do the same thing.
Long overdue. You should have done that way at the beginning.
Creepy as hell. When I don't even know that it is Veta. Do you think it's Veta? He's made to believe that the person communicating through, like, the books, he would open up a book and look at the pages, and it would seem to be like messages from Veta. Was that in Chicago, or was that in Colorado?
That was in Colorado. And I don't think it was Veta.
Yeah, I don't think it was Veta either. I think it happened much later in the book, where he alludes to the fact that it's like, wherever you are talking to Veta again, you're not here. You're not part of this. And, like, it's very comforting to know that you're not here, because it means maybe you're somewhere, like, better. Like, maybe you're somewhere where it's like you're at peace. You're, you know what I'm saying?
Well, and one of the ways that Thiago figures out that this entity that's communicating with him and is trying to make him think that it's Veta is not Veta is because when he's shown the images of her last moments, her death, basically, he's like, you would never torment me with that.
Right.
So that's what tips him off that this is not my wife trying to communicate with me from, wherever.
And I like that. That. And that feels very true. It's like, yeah, your loved one would never want to bring you to that moment when there's so much else that you could show them and celebrate with them. Yeah.
Let me ask you, when Brumley dies, and I'm not real clear how he died, like what happened exactly. But I was like, are you kidding me? The dog dies.
Yeah. So this was, and I didn't even, until we had finished the book,
comfort to know it's not really. Well, I don't know. Was it a dog? I don't know.
I didn't even until finishing the book, I didn't even remember that I had on a previous episode mentioned the Mother Horror at Mother Horror on social media had talked about this book, given this book a great rating, had mentioned that there is some sensitive there are some sensitive pages with the dog, and so I like didn't even remember that until I finished. Yeah, I don't. Okay, so he gets this dog who's just like this perfect little dog from the get-go, and I'm like, where did this dog come from? And so like from the
Saint
jump I was
Bernard
just
of
like,
all things. That's a big
is
dog.
this even real? Like, is any of this real? And he bonds with this dog, and so then they're out in the I keep picturing that he lives in this cabin and there's just wooded area around him, and it happens to be wintertime because we do know that there's snow on the ground. And I guess there's on this property are old, did they say cyanide bombs?
Is that Luna back there?
Yes.
I see her ear. Okay.
Old
That's what
cyanide?
I heard. I was like, why
is it
are there
cyanide? Is it cyanide? Okay.
Yeah.
So like something explodes in the poor dog's face. Which,
like,
maybe it was quick. Maybe the dog went quick. That's what one would hope. But the dog dies.
So we're thinking that the original Brumley was a real Saint Bernard.
A real dog.
Okay. The second one obviously was not, but.
Or do you think the wall sent the dog?
I don't know.
But so then he has to go back and bury the dog, and it's just really and yeah, the same thing. I was just like, you gotta be freaking kidding me, this poor man. Like, God.
Give him a break, cut him some slack here. But
and then the second that we get to the scene where the dog comes back, I immediately was just like, oh, that dog's not supposed to be here. That dog, that's not right. That's not right. Don't let it in. Don't let it in. That's when I wrote in my notes. What did I say? Brimley is back? Is this Pet Cemetery? And then I was like, sometimes dead is better. There were parts towards the end where his losing his grip on reality and kind of just questioning everything and feeling like he's going insane. There were parts of that felt very much like The Shining territory. Even just because of like the seclusion, you're isolated, you're out there in the woods and it's cold. And so that felt very Shining-esque to me. Yeah. And so at this point, eventually Diane shows up to visit. And there was a part of me, Ron, when she shows up, that happens to be when he's fleeing the dog who's trying to attack him, right? And so I was really questioning whether or not Diane was real. Like, is Diane coming? Is that real? Like,
it was very abrupt. It was very abrupt, and I had to like rewind it like a minute's worth because I was like, wait, because I was thinking, how did he end up back in Chicago already? I was thinking,
I know, it's like,
because there's obviously some supernatural element with this wall. Did he like pass through a portal and he like popped out in Chicago all of a sudden? Like, so I was confused for a minute, but no, apparently.
Like, how big is this wall? How tall is this wall? Is it like a hedge? What is it?
And why, if it started in Chicago, does it follow him to Colorado?
To Colorado.
Yeah.
Right.
But yeah, so I was a little confused, but then, figured out that Diane apparently had just sprung a surprise visit on him in Colorado and just happened to show up at that moment.
Did you because I didn't know what to make of the wall, and I still don't know what to make of the wall.
I don't know what to make of a lot of the last part of this book, like the last 20 minutes or so of this book.
I just don't know how to interpret. I don't know how to interpret that. Like, because, and I guess because the first half of the book spends not so much time, but we spend a decent amount of time establishing Itza. And so then when Itza's run over, you're like, okay, well that was it for that. And I was thinking, well, but I thought that the smart speaker was going to be part of the cabin element. And so then I was thinking, is the wall like a manifestation of Itza? Like I just didn't know how to interpret that. Or where it came from. So in the course of the brief time that he has Brimley, he does take Brimley to a vet. We meet Dr. Jacobson. Dr. Jacobson is like, this is a great dog. Keep this dog, whatever. When Thiago brings Brimley back once the dog has hit that bomb, and Mr. Jacobson Dr. Jacobson informs him, there's nothing we can do. We're going to have to, what did he say? We're going to have to keep him. Or no. He sends him home. He buries him. The dog comes back. So back to the vet, Thiago goes with this dog, and Dr. Jacobson is like, how in the hell is this dog here? This isn't the same dog. I'm trying to think of I'm trying to build to what I'm getting to. Let's see. What did you think of Dr. Jacobson? What happens to him ultimately after the dog attack? What exactly happens? The dog.
Well,
attacks...
we don't ever see necessarily what happened to Dr. Jacobson. It's just apparently I want to use the word possessed necessarily because I'm not even sure that's what's happening.
Yeah.
But Dr. Jacobson is no longer himself. He's
right.
I think that's where you mentioned kind of people have drawn there's some zombie-ish component there where it's not Dr. Jacobson anymore. It's whatever this entity is.
Well, it's really interesting because
got into him, we're not clear because it's never explained
because
or shown.
what people on because I went to a Reddit thread and I went to Goodreads as well, and there are a lot of people who believe that it's initially whatever it is embodying the dog when the dog comes back, Brimley Part 2. And so then I don't remember why I don't know that it's ever really accurate, fully explained to us why Brimley ultimately turns on Thiago. Thiago goes out and is doing stuff, and then when he comes back, Brimley is no longer friendly with him and is now determined to attack him, and that's how all of that.
I think it coincides with the moment that Thiago realizes that this isn't Vera. She would never he's
right,
because the thing keeps telling, pretending to be Vera. It's telling him in the books, pull me out of the wall, pull me out of the wall. So I'm thinking whatever this entity is, it needs somebody to bring it into this world, to pull it out from wherever it is. And so he's trying to trick Thiago that this is his wife. So free her, pull her out of the wall.
And once he realizes, maybe by physically connecting with the wall, then it's
somehow I don't really know, but this is
because what people on the threads were saying is that once the dog, eventually the dog goes berserk, the dog goes wild and feral. Cujo, yeah, this is very much throwing in clear references to Cujo. Eventually the dog does die, and so the dog winds up back at the vet because I guess they have to examine what the hell happened to this animal. What even is this? And so then at the point that the dog attacked Dr. Jacobson, I think people are saying that whatever was embodying the dog switches over to Dr. Jacobson, and so now it's in Dr. Jacobson until I ultimately I don't even remember how Dr. Jacobson dies. He does die though, right? I just listened to
the police.
Yes, he's gunned down by the police. That's correct. Yeah. Do you think so when
Diane tried to kill him, but
that's right.
And I'm not clear what happened there.
When Diane and Thiago are in the hotel, and remember they're in the hotel and she wakes him up in the dead of night because there's somebody outside on the other side of the door trying to open the door. Do you think that was Dr. Jacobson?
I'm guessing. I mean, I don't know who else it would be. There were no other characters.
Nobody else.
And it was clearly somebody that looked human-like because when they hear the hotel staff and security, they're like, sir, what are you doing there? They can hear him.
And it might have been the cook.
Talking to
we didn't talk about the cook. On his way out to Colorado, driving to Colorado, Thiago does stop at a diner, gas station diner. I'm not really clear what it was. And he has a weird conversation with a guy that's just identified in the story as a cook, the cook. A very weird conversation. And it will, the cook will play a more central part in the story because he ultimately is the entity, the humanoid version of whatever this is that is interfacing with Thiago towards the second half of the book, the last half of the book. Yeah, I don't know. Were there other things that stuck out to you about I don't know.
Well, what happened to Diane? I'm not even clear. She dies, which,
Doesn't she get shot?
No, she's trying to shoot the Dr. Jacob, the thing that is now Dr. Jacobson in Dr. Jacobson's in Supernatural, he would have been referred to as a meat puppet, something like that. I don't remember.
That's right. She gets like sucked into some.
Yeah,
well, I mean, that's a part of it that feels very like surreal.
And the banquet, the dinner.
Yes.
What is that?
Where you've got the cook, you've got everybody there except Veta. Veta's never there, right? Veta's not there. Right. It's the cook, it's Diane, it's his father, it's, I don't know, maybe other people that have died, but yeah, Veta's never there. Interestingly enough, she's never there. Yeah, and it's just, again, it's all of these people trying to get him to surrender himself to whatever this is. Just come and be with them and be part of it. I don't know. What did you make of the end? Like, as we're getting to the final sections of the book, past the point of Diane dying, he has to go all the way back to Chicago, be part of another funeral. He's now looking hella suspicious to all of the family because it's like, this is now the second person to die in your, well, the first person didn't die in his midst, but this is now somebody who supposedly died at your hand, or not at your hand, but in your presence. He was in the process of getting buried by Dr. Jacobson, getting buried alive, essentially, is what it felt like to me when the police show up and gun Dr. Jacobson down. Why the police show up, I don't know. Like, how were they summoned? What was going on? But they show up in the nick of time and save him and gun down Dr. Jacobson. So I guess maybe that's the only reason why everyone isn't fully believing that he is the reason for Diane's death, because like he was also attacked at the time that she was killed. So, but yeah, everyone's suspicious of him. And hold on, let me look this up real quick. Does he go to see the witch one more time?
Nope.
No. When do we find out? When does it come? Because there is a point at which he finds out that one of the words that she would say a lot, she says canal. Oh, Diane tells him.
He's talking to Diane. She says
the witch lady was talking about canal, and Diane says, well, that means channel, or like a portal. So then I was like, oh my God, she opened a channel. She opened a portal. Yeah, I don't know. Are there other like the ending?
I was just in generally very confused about a lot of the events at the end of the book. And then of course, when Thiago elects to take his own life, I don't really.
Well, hang on. Pause for a second. At the point where, I don't know that he does, but like at the point that he has, we get that scene where he's going through the condo. He's seeing that white family that now lives there, right? Were those dreams, like, was that him already part of the wall? Like, what, like, had he already touched the wall at that point? And so now everything past the point of, once he's back in Colorado, is that all like just him slowly, I don't know how else to put it, incorporating with the wall, so that by the time we get to those end scenes, even though he seems to be trying to set it up that he's going to take his own life because that's the only way that the entity doesn't win, I got the sense that he didn't do it in time before the entity just took him. Because there's like a weird scene where the entity's holding him, like at the end.
That. I never got the sense that the entity
he's holding
wins.
him at
so
the
like
end.
Those
the
people
cook
that
is
you
holding him at the end.
Those people that you said at the end that
you thought that was just a dream.
No, I mean, I think he's having these experiences, but I didn't interpret, and this is where I guess and I might actually purchase the physical book, or at least the ebook, so I can go back and kind of reread some of this, but I did not get the impression that the entity wins or that he somehow becomes a part of it. The reason I think that at the end that the point of view it's kind of like the ending of Sopranos, that where the gunman walks into the restaurant, shoots like directly at the main character, Tony
Mm-hmm.
Soprano, and then it just
Mm-hmm.
goes black.
Yeah.
And the writers said, well, that's because, you know, it's open to interpretation, but basically, like, if you're shot in the head and your brain just, like, that would be it. There would be no more, it would just go black and
Yeah.
there's nothing else to see. So my interpretation of why the point of view changes from Tiago's first person
Mm-hmm.
to third person is because, you know, his overdose of the Vicodin has done its job. His consciousness has ceased to exist. So his first person point of view ceases to exist. And then it's not, I don't know that I don't think I did not interpret it as it's the entity that's kind of finishing out those last thoughts. It's just kind of like this omnipresent, you know, not narrator, but it's just the ending to the story told in the only way that it can be finished. But I mean, and I think that's probably intentional, that the author probably left it, you know, semi unclear so people can draw their own conclusions. But
What did you
I
think? What did you think of when he goes to meet with the young man who
mhm,
accidentally killed Vera, and the young man tells him, um, I heard someone call my name, and Thiago's like, well, who? Did you get a good look at this person? Did you whatever? And he goes, it was you. What did you make of that? Like when he's saying it was you, it was you. And I think he may have said something to the fact that it's like you look different or something, but it was you.
mhm.
What did you make of that?
I mean, I think that's what happened. I think in whatever way
Do you think,
time
because there were
streams
people
time
that
streams
speculated, yeah, did you think that it was like something where it's like he jumped forward in like Thiago from the future? Like, I don't know. There were just, do you think there was a time element at play there? Like a
Yeah, I
jump
think
through
there was
time?
something. No, I don't know if it was jump through time, but just, you know, people tend to think of time as just as in this linear thing where
Mm-hmm.
one event happens, you know, in front of or after another. But, you know, sci-fi is full of examples where time kind of overlaps, like where,
No,
so it's hard to explain, but basically, yeah, I think Esteban, was that his name? Esteban? The
the
kid?
young man?
Yeah,
Yeah, I don't remember.
I think that was it. Um, I think he is telling the truth. He saw Tiago in the terminal, whatever, wherever they were, and whatever about his appearance that startled him, and he bumped into Vera and caused her death. So I do think in some way, you know, it's not
Mm-hmm.
explained, and I have no way to explain it either. Is it's somehow that, you know, he
Yeah.
was there.
Well, let me read. This was an interesting response from somebody at Goodreads, and only because it draws on that mask
Hmm.
thing that the lady told him, and I thought this was just really interesting. So let me just read it from a reader on Goodreads. Madison is the name given. She says, I agree with the others that Thiago lost the. This is what she says. I agree with the others that Thiago lost the battle and the entity took over by the end. But I also wonder if Thiago was always part of the entity, or at least the entity was partially taking him over much earlier than the book than we initially are led on. In the dialogue with the woman who cursed the house, she says Thiago's face is a mask, which parallels with the mask Thiago sees at the end, which I don't really remember that. But she also points to him, the witch lady points to him when he asks if she killed the animal, which could imply he had something to do with the killing of the animal. And I don't remember that either. I don't remember her pointing to him when he asked her that. Like, was she saying, no, you did? I don't know. But the reader goes on to say it would explain how Esteban saw Thiago right before bumping into Vera. So I just bring that up only because all of that mentioning of the mask, I had completely not hung on to that as relevant to Esteban later saying, I saw you, your face looked different, but like, I saw you, it was you. So I don't know. I would have to go back and listen to the ending again because you definitely do see we statements start being said. So maybe you're right. Maybe at that point, if Thiago was able to end his own life, maybe we're just hearing the entity's point of view because that's all that's left to carry on the story. But I don't know. I don't even really know. He downed a bunch of drugs, right?
Vicodin.
Yeah.
I think that's what it was.
So it's like at that point, that stuff does take effect. You kind of, if you were able to get it down, then you did do what you intended to do. So maybe you're right. Maybe he did take his own life, and then at that point, it's just the entity is the one who is the narrator. So
I don't even know if it was the entity or just kind of a universal we. It's kind of like,
yeah,
interesting book.
It's a very interesting book, and lots of good things in it. Like I said, how did you feel about like the dog violence? Was it for someone who hasn't read this story? Were you deeply impacted by it? I felt like it was okay. Only because I didn't know. I never knew if at any point the dog was real.
Well, I thought the first Brimley was real. I was kind of real. I was. I mean, it doesn't. The author doesn't spend like a lot of detail, like going over like what's happening to Brimley, and so there's not a. It's brief. It's quick.
Thankfully, it's brief, and you kind of tell you're sad for Thiago and you're sad for this dog, but you're also just, you don't even really have time to really sit with that grief before Brimley 2.0 comes back. And at that point, because you, the reader, know that dog's not supposed to be here, then I'll fully admit, I didn't necessarily feel anything about the violence that Brimley was doing and having done to him, because I didn't think Brimley was of this earth. It's just like, I don't even think he's supposed to be here. So I don't know. That would be me personally. It would be like the cat from Pet Sematary. I don't feel, sometimes dead is better. Yeah. So definitely an interesting, good book, fast audiobook. And so like, I don't have a physical copy of the book. I do want to go out and buy it, because I do really want to own this one. But fast read. Another comparison that this book gets from some of the people that reviewed it is the Only Good Indians by Stephen Graham Jones, which is a book I have. I have not read it yet. It's on my TBR list, but I do own that one. So if you're a fan of Stephen Graham Jones, I think you'll probably be a fan of this book as well. And yeah. Anything else? Any closing thoughts on it? Closing? No. All right. Okay, friends. Well, let's
Has he written anything else since then? Or when was this book published? Do you have that information?
Like, I want to say it came out in 2021, but I don't. So it's been out for a while.
Has he written anything else since then? I didn't look it up.
I have not looked at it. While you're looking at that, though, let me talk. He has When I Lay My Vengeance Upon Thee. That kind of looks like a graphic novel. Yeah, graphic novel that came out in 2026. When I Lay My Vengeance Upon Thee. Ooh, let me read a little bit about it. Father Beretta is a disgraced priest haunted by his part in the tragic death of a child. As penance, he is exiled to the remote South American island town of Puerto Cristina to apprentice under the enigmatic Father, I can't say that name, Stygian, who is a controversial exorcist. That sounds fun.
Yeah.
So it's a 144-page graphic novel, kind of. The illustrations for this look really cool. But yeah, let's talk about May, because May's coming up. Veronica and I have 2 episodes coming to you in May, and then we go on our annual hiatus for the month of June. So for May, Veronica, I was thinking it would be fun for us to go 90s horror. And so I think that we should kick off May with a viewing of 1998's The Faculty, directed by Robert Rodriguez. And I don't know I think, what's his face? Josh Hartnett is in it. And that's kind of all I know. But this was Elijah Wood is in it. That's right. You're right. So And can I be honest with you? I don't think I've ever seen The Faculty, so it'll be fun to watch it.
I haven't seen. I think I've seen parts of it, but I don't think I've ever seen the whole thing.
I don't think I've ever seen even parts of it. So it's available on Amazon Prime. And so you can rent it there, or if you own it, that's fantastic. You can watch it. And that'll be our next episode, which will be coming in May. And so that's it. Ron, unless you have something else, we can go ahead and wrap it up.
No, that's it.
Okay, my friends. Well, thank you so much for listening, and we will see you next time.
Bye.
Don't Watch at Night is a Nest production hosted by me, Veronica, and Valerie. Editing by Valerie. Music by Omar Chakor. Production support for this episode provided by Lorenzo Villarreal and Alex Street. Listen to new episodes of Don't Watch at Night every other Monday, and don't forget to give us a rate and review. It's the best way to help us grow.